solving systems with elimination part 2. So this is kind of equations where it's not always obvious what's going to cancel out, or more likely it looks like something really wants to cancel out, but it's not quite set up that way. So we're going to do 2 problems. These are from the page that you got yesterday. This one is in fact number 5. So you get a system 2x plus 5y equals 10, and then you got x plus 5y equals negative 10. We really want this to cancel out. But if we look here at the 5's, right, usually we think, oh, the y's are going to cancel each other out. But here the y's have exactly the same sign. So if I was to add these, nothing's going to happen, right? 5y plus 5, don't write this. But if we add this, you get 3x's, you get 10y's, and you get negative 10. And that's not helpful at all because we still have a y variable and an x variable. So we can't just add straight down. That's not going to help us at all. So we need to do something, one tiny step first before we add them together. And we're thinking like, wouldn't it be nice if this bottom one here was a negative? It would, because then there'd be a negative 5 and it could cancel out with the other ones. So the trick is, how do you change the sign of a number? You're not allowed to change just one thing, right? An equation, whatever you do, you got to do to everything or on both sides. And we're going to use that. So we're still going to eliminate, but before we do that, this equation here, we're going to change the signs. Because I want this positive 5 to be a negative. I can do that, I can change that, but I got to change all the signs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to multiply everything in that equation by negative 1. Why would we do that? When we multiply by negative 1, we get a fresh equation. And all the signs are going to be switched. So the x turns into negative x. The 5y turns into negative 5y. And the negative 10 turns into positive 10. Again, all I did was take this equation, multiply everything by a negative to get this new equation. Okay. Again, take a second look at it. This equation, if we switch all the signs, is this bottom equation now. And the whole reason we did that, right? The whole reason we did that was now we can cancel stuff out. In this case, when we add them, we're going to cancel out the y's. So if I add straight down, 2x minus x is x. 5y and now a negative 5y. Wait, and I have a 0, and this is a positive 10 now, which is a 10. And look at our happy, we don't have to do anything. You just get x equals 10. Again, recapping, our original problem, these two things won't cancel each other out. They really want to. They're both the same number, but they're not the different signs. So instead of just adding straight away, we're going to take this bottom one and multiply it by negative 1. We do that so that we have the opposite sign as this first one. And now when we add, the y's cancel out. The x's, they do x's. 2x's minus an x now is x. And then 0 and now a negative 10 makes 10. Once you know that x is 10, right? Substitute in. Let's use equation 1. Substitute this up into this first equation. 2 is times in the x. So now 2 is times in 10. It's going to turn it into 20. And then we have a 5y and a 0. Solving, minus 20 on each side. running out of space. Oh, so the 20s cancel out. I'm left with 5y equals negative 20. The last step, divide by 5. So y equals negative 4. So our solution is 10 comma negative 4. Basically what we're doing now is we're taking this extra first step of multiplying by negative 1 some entire equation so that we can change it just a little bit so that when we add, one of the variables cancels out. Remember, our whole goal is to get rid of one of the variables. Okay. So let's see again. We're going to do another one. Oh, there we go. All right, so this one is going to be number 8 from your page. So negative 3x minus y equals 8, and negative 8x minus y equals 23. So again, we're looking to see which one is going to cancel out. We see 2 already that are really close. They just need to be opposite signs, right? The y's. You have a negative y and another negative y. It'd be really cool if one of these was a positive. That way they'll cancel out when I add them. So now this is up to you. Which one do you want to make a positive? Does not matter. I am going to pick the second one. We're going to multiply by negative 1 and see what it turns into. Use green. All right, so the first term, when we multiply by negative 1, negative 8 times negative 1 makes it positive. For the y, when I multiply negative y by negative 1, negative times negative makes it positive. And then 23 times negative 1 makes it negative. So multiplying the equation by negative 1 turns all the signs. Now when we add, the y's get eliminated. You got negative 3 and 8 makes 5x's. Negative y and now positive y go away. They cancel each other out. I don't care anymore. On the far right, you got 8 and negative 23, which makes negative 15. Yay! Again, wasn't apparent. We multiplied by negative 1, and then we added to eliminate the y's. We're left with a super simple equation. Divide both sides by 5. Some of you can do this in your head, though. If you can, please do. You get x equals negative 3. All right, halfway there. Again, if something doesn't cancel out right away, your job is to change it just a teeny bit so that when you add, something does cancel out. So we figured out x is negative 3. Y, let's substitute in. Again, it doesn't matter. We can use the original equation. We can use this one we modified. We can even use the original one we did modify. Any of those will work. I'm going to pick the top one just because it's going to work out real nice. But again, you pick whichever one you wish. So this is going to substitute in right there. And we're going to write it down here. So you got negative 3 times in the x. We know x is negative 3, so this is negative 3 times in negative 3, which makes positive 9. Then there's a minus y. That equals 8. 9 minus y equals 8. Hopefully you do that one in your brain, but if not, minus 9 on each side. So we get negative y equals negative 1. And then here's the last step. To get rid of the negative, divide by -1. So I'm left with the negatives cancel. You're left with y equals 1. So we'll put that over here in our answer. X was -3, y was +1. So again, we're still doing the same thing. We're adding to eliminate a variable, except the way it's written, nothing will cancel out. So we're going to do one tiny little thing. We're going to multiply one of the equations by -1 to switch all the signs around. And what happens is one of the variables then is exactly the opposite of each other, and they will cancel each other out, and we're allowed to solve it just like we did yesterday.